The alt-right militia groups are cowards, and the new 17-year-old poster boy, Kyle Riddenhouse, is proof.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Hold on to your family. Lay low.
Many years ago, I interviewed John Salter for my documentary on my mother and the civil rights movement called An Ordinary Hero. His insights and understanding about the mob that attacked them at the Jackson Woolworth lunch counter came back to me when I saw that picture of Kyle Rittenhouse. Like the militia groups of today that dress up in their camo with flak jackets and AR-15s hanging to their sides, the mobs fighting against integration and the right for African Americans to exist during the civil rights movement are much different. They were both fed a steady diet of hate from their politicians. You'll hear the same rhetoric that they are losing their country. They're defending their rights against outside agitators and communists. They make it all sound reasonable to their ilk, and even say they aren't racist. Some might even lay claim to having a black friend, which every white person goes out of their way to say. Although, to be honest, I've never heard a black person try to assure white people that they have a white friend. They have even learned a few new buzzwords instead of openly saying super racist stuff in public. But it all means the same thing. When my mother, Ann Moody, and John Salter sat at that lunch counter in 1963, the crowd became even more incensed. The attacks went on for several hours. My mother said that she thought none of them were going to make it out alive. But it's what John Salter said to me that came flooding back to my mind when I saw Kyle Rittenhouse's picture. The people in the mob were kids. It's what they were taught to do. It was even in their school books that whites and blacks don't mix. And if you look carefully at the photo from that day, you'll see the adults aren't doing anything except egging the kids on. Why? Because they're cowards, just like the militia groups of today. They've gotten to the point where they're okay with letting a kid do their dirty work and then use him as their poster boy on the internet and such. They'll praise him as some brave defender of America while they are free to be with their families and live their lives while he's in prison. I once asked the widow of Medgar Evers, "Who killed your husband?" She paused and said, "There was a man who pulled the trigger." But I have to ask myself, who killed Medgar Evers? Was it the hatred in America, the blind prejudice, the sanctimonious people who feel that people of color are inferior? What else? I think there are different elements in American society captioned with hate that killed Medgar Evers. Bob Dylan's song, "Only a Pawn in Their Game," was about Medgar and white America, and it still resonates today. For the politician's gain, as he rises to fame, and the poor white remains on the caboose of the train. But it ain't him to blame. He's only a pawn in their game. The deputy sheriffs, the soldiers, the governors get paid, and the marshals and cops get the same. But the poor white man's used in the hands of them all like a tool. He's taught in his school from the start by the rule that the laws are with him to protect his white skin, to keep up his hate so he never thinks straight about the shape that he's in. But it ain't him to blame. He's only a pawn in their game. Now don't think I'm defending Rittenhouse. I'm merely explaining who he is. A pawn in the game of a bunch of cowards. This has been Locked In with Loki.
Oh.